We
we
are
go.
live. Welcome in, everybody. I am Caden. This is Tag. We are Aggie Baseball News. Dalen will not be joining us today, but the show must go on because we have a lot to get to. I guess we could actually. You know what, Tag? How's your day been?
It's
What
been
what what
great.
have you been up to today?
Nothing much. Just living the dream on a Wednesday with no classes.
Let's go. All right. I guess we could get straight into it. The first thing I wanted to touch on was ABS coming to college baseball. So this is the automated challenge system for balls and strikes. So this is coming to Hoover, the SEC tournament this year. This wasn't something that was supposed to happen this soon. I think it was supposed to start in like 2027 is when we were supposed to be talking about it, but then like I think it just because it came into the MLB so easily, like we just decided to get it going in college this soon. But yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts on this kind of coming to college baseball this quickly?
I absolutely love it. It's been seamless for the through the minors. I think it was 2 years that it took, and then you saw it in spring training. It was great, and so far it's been nothing but successful. Plus, you see a lot less ejections, which is what it's tended for. So, and with ABS now, Brian O'Connor at Mississippi State would not have been tossed, and neither would have early this past weekend. So.
Totally agree with that. I think it's smart to start it kind of in the SEC tournament. What do you think about something like this coming to the regular season? Not just like if you're a fan of it, but do
Mhm.
you think that this is something that's going to come into the regular season of college baseball
Well,
quickly?
yes. Well, I inevitably think it will be like not probably not next year. Well, we'll see how it works this year, but until like all the major conferences get behind it, I don't think you'll see it because it's got to be everything for all the NCAA whatever requirements to get it involved. But once that gets approved, I don't see why it won't be in. I don't see why it wouldn't be in it starting in probably 2 years.
So let's go into that kind of the rules for it. For those just hopping in, we're talking about ABS, the balls and strikes challenge system coming to Hoover. So you're going to get 3 challenges per team. If you win the challenge, you get to keep it. If you're out of challenges and the game goes to extra innings, each team gets a bonus challenge. And then only the pitcher, catcher, and the hitter can request a challenge. So the coach cannot request a challenge. And you have to do it pretty quickly, too. So you can't wait there for 5 seconds and turn to your first baseman or whatever. Oh, was that a strike? You can't. You have to like immediately make the challenge, and the coach can't make the challenge. And then they do pregame measurements for every single batter to kind of assess their strike zone. So I'm a huge fan. I'm excited to see how it works. The fear that I have is obviously you don't want something like this to end up replacing umpires completely. Um, because there are things that umpires can do that like an automated balls and strike calling system can't do. And so my fear is like, and this is with the MLB too, is like you just don't want something like this to take over the game to where there you don't have a need for umpires anymore, because you could even argue like, oh, you could put some kind of mini chips into the bases or something like that, and then you're looking at getting perfect calls for whether somebody's out or not.
I think they actually said the ball. Like,
Oh
I think
yeah,
that was
yeah, yeah.
the term or that they were talking about. But yeah, I'm in complete agreement that you still need umpires. I like how the three challenge. I think it's better with three than although the MLB does it so great with two. But I think three for an introduction phase is gonna be flawless.
And if it, yeah, I mean, my final kind of comment on this is if it goes well, this is something that's probably going to come to the regular season, or at least Omaha. Like I mean, imagine you're in the national championship game and you can't challenge a call that would have completely changed the game. So I expect something like this to make its way into the rest of the regular season and the rest of the postseason pretty quickly if it goes well.
The
Um,
ACC I know was discussing it, but they never pulled the trigger. I believe Kendall Rogers posted that. D1 Baseball posted that. Um, so we'll see where the rest of these conferences decide to do.
all right. So are we in week 12 already of conference play? Is that where we're at? Week 12? At week 12 or 13? I think so.
Of the
So
season,
Tag
but
and I, yeah, yeah, of conference play.
Well,
Tag and I are going to go over our SEC power rankings, not the entire conference, just the top five, and we'll kind of talk you through why we think that is. Would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first?
you can go first.
Okay. Oh, these are yours. These are mine. Okay. So I'll start at five. Mississippi State, I have as the fifth best team in the conference. I think they're really complete. They have three really, really good starters on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Their lineup is pretty balanced. It has power. Everybody's really, really good at getting on base. I think Mississippi State's a really complete team. They haven't played like it at times. They lost, they got swept by Tennessee at home. They lost another home series too. I think I can't
Got
remember.
swept by Georgia as well at home.
Swept by
Yeah,
Georgia at home.
before.
Yeah. So I like Mississippi State a lot, but there are some consistency issues. But I think they're the fifth best team in the conference. Moving up, our Aggies. Now, a lot of people are not going to like this. That looking at the team that I have at number two, A&M can be the best team in the conference, and they've played like it at times. But the problem is when you see the spiral like you did on Saturday against Auburn, which is if you get beat like that in the first game of a series, it doesn't set you up to play well the rest of the weekend. So I think A&M with more consistency on the mound and better starts out of Sadeo uh, can be the best team in the conference. But you saw what just happened when you don't get a solid start on Friday night. So I think that we're really, really good. I think that we could win uh, pretty much any against anybody that we play. But for now, I've got us at four. Auburn, pretty self-explanatory. They just beat us. Series could have gone either way when you look at the game on Saturday, but Auburn to me right now, like offensively and on the mound, and even defensively, they were really good. They look like the most complete team in the conference. Or at least they played like that against us. I think they hit six home runs maybe against
Hmm.
us,
Yes.
which they haven't been very much of a power team all year, but they blistered us. And they didn't just do that; it was singles. Like they were so good at getting on base and driving runs home. And then on the mound, they have you could argue the best starting rotation in the conference. Um, so I really like Auburn. I think they're the third best team in the conference. Moving to Texas, yes, I have Texas above us and Auburn. Texas beat Auburn earlier in the year, and for Texas, it's less balanced, but it's the pitching is just so good. It's hard for me not to put them at two. They kind of, I think they had a little bit of an off weekend pitching wise because of the environment against us, but I still think Texas is really really good. I don't see anybody beating Texas with Dylan Volantis on the mound, and if you have a guaranteed Friday night win, and then they have the rest of their bullpen to go to the rest of the weekend, I think it's going to be really 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 tough to beat Texas, and that's shown so far. They've only lost one conference series. And then Georgia, I have at the top. Uh, they just drug Mizzou across the floor this last weekend, which most people do. But you remember Georgia coming into College Station and what they did. You remember Georgia going to Mississippi State and sweeping that in that environment against that team, who I have at number five. I don't think there's much of an argument. I think Georgia's the best team in the conference. There's so much power and so much slug across the lineup. And the pitching's been coming along too. I think there were some questions mid-season, especially early in the conference slate, but I think that that's coming around too. And so I think Georgia's going to win the regular season title, and I think they are the best team in the conference. So those are mine, and we will move to Tag now. Tag, take it away.
Alrighty. Like Caden, I mean, I've got Mississippi State at five. Very well-rounded team. I've heard that they have a starter that is out, but when they're at fully healthy, I'd put them up against any team in this conference in any series. Well, you might ask Tag, why do you say that when they have played a lot of these teams in this conference? Um, just it's on a week to week basis in this conference. Some teams play very well, some teams play not so well, and I think as a whole, this team is very very good and will be very dangerous in the postseason. Moving up to number four is these Aggies. You might ask why two through four is the way it is. I have it based on recency bias A&M did not look very like themselves on Saturday. They did trend better on Sunday. However, it was very questionable as well. Um, and then moving up to number three, I have Texas. The pitching is just so scary, especially when you get to a regional when they can roll out anyone in any situation, and you feel very confident in them. Plus, the combination of Robbins and Tinney is probably the best duo in the nation. Maybe outside of Gasparino and Chalowski. Number two, Auburn. We just saw them. Very impressed. Recency bias again. I know Texas has beat Auburn. However, they looked really legit, and the question marks on about them they answered this weekend. We knew they were a very good pitching team. Would they be able to hit against an A&M staff that has been somewhat iffy? And they answered that. They did just that. 18 runs in one game and then still produced the home run ball in game two. And that was something that they don't really do. And then number one, Georgia, they have probably the most talented roster up and down all the way through, and they've shown it. I think they've lost one series this year, and it was in a rivalry matchup against Florida. And their pitching question marks have been answered. They moved Aoki out of the bullpen into Sunday. At least they did this past weekend, and he goes six scoreless. Yes, it was against Vanderbilt, but still, when you move someone from the bullpen to a starting role, you never know how that first time out there is going to be. And Volchko has looked like the first round pick they paid for out of the portal this past series. Yes, it was against Missouri, but that is my power rankings. And yes, obviously Georgia will win the regular season title unless something crazy happens.
I'm in pretty much agreement with that. Do you have anything else you want to kind of add about the conference as a whole before we move to the midweek?
No, because we'll touch on that towards the end of the show.
Yeah. Okay. So A&M drug Prairie View all across the ground. It took a while though. I mean, Prairie View jumped out to a 4-0 lead. I think in the third inning. It was the third or the fourth inning. A&M looked a little sleepy coming out of the gate. Prairie View goes up 4-0, and then A&M puts up 11 runs across the next two innings, and they kind of never looked back. I can go into a couple highlights from the lineup. Jake Dewar had a really rough weekend against Auburn. He went 0 for 11, and he went 4 for 5 against Prairie View. It is Prairie View, but you always love to see that regardless of the opponent when somebody struggles and then they come out and just look a lot more like themselves. He went 4 for 5. He had two doubles. He had a single, a home run, and he drove in 4 runs. He was a triple away from the cycle. He had a double. I think that second double came towards the end of the game, and he was thinking about turning second base to go for the cycle, but he decided to stay put. So good game for him. Wesley Jordan also came back into the lineup, and he went 2 for 6. He hit a home run. He also drove in a run with a single, so he also had 4 RBIs. That's really good to see, especially with the lineup kind of being a little bit different now that Partita's out and some guys having to step up. So that was good to see from him. Caden Sorrell did not have a hit, but he got 4. He was on base 4 times, so he had 4 walks. So that was good to see. Was seeing the ball a lot better. So those are, I think, kind of just my highlights from the lineup. Tag, if you want to go into the pitching.
Yeah, and Sorrell was one pitch away from tying the school record in walks in a game, that full count pitch. But yeah, nonetheless, we'll go into pitching. Juan Vargas looked really good again. He's starting to look like that next option for when we look ahead to a regional who could start that first game. He's very well an option now. He's looked good back-to-back midweeks. And then a very, very good shout out to Hunter Bond. He got everybody he faced, he recorded them out. He went 3 in the third with no hits, no runs, and he had 4 Ks. And when you really needed him, because the game was getting back to very close at the time when he was entered in, and he looked very well.
I think, obviously there were highlights with Vargas and Hunter, but I think like we kind of know what this team is at this point, and the midweek showed it. Grant Cunningham got hit around. I can't remember who else came in. Who was it?
Cole Hubert came in,
Cole
and
Hubert came in.
it was an unearned run or unearned runs due to the error by Kellner, but not his best outing.
Yeah, so I think just what I'm saying is like we kind of know what this team is at this point, which is that you just don't have depth in the bullpen, which is why it was so encouraging to see Hunter Bond play so well. Because I still feel like, and we talked about it last time, I still feel like you're looking for one more arm to step up out of the pen, to have one more guy that you can feel good about besides just Lyons, Darden, and Freshcorn. And so maybe that could be Hunter Bond, maybe it won't be, but I still think one more guy needs to step up. So that was good to see. Um, okay, big series this weekend. Number 9 Texas A&M heads to number 20 Ole Miss. A&M is 15-8 in the conference. Ole Miss is 12-12. A&M, obviously, we talked about it, coming off of a series loss to Auburn. Run ruled in the first game 18-5, lost the second game 5-4, and then took game 3 4-3 to salvage the series. So A&M's coming off of their first SEC series loss since March 21st against Georgia. And then Ole Miss had a heartbreaker at Arkansas. They were also run ruled in the first game. They played much better in the second game and won 11-4. And then they were walked off in the third game. They were up by one they were up by one, right? In the ninth
They
inning.
were up by one. I don't. Yeah, in the ninth they were up by one.
Yeah. So they were up by one in the ninth inning, and then Arkansas hit a 2-run home run to walk it off. And Ole Miss did not have a midweek game, so they've been sitting with that loss all week coming into this series. Ole Miss is on a 2-series losing streak, and they've lost 5 out of their last 6 games. Um, I'll get into a little bit about where I think A&M is. Um, I think it's fair to say the team feels a little bit scattered right now. You've struggled offensively 2 series in a row. Granted, it was against probably the two of the top pitching staffs in the conference and in the nation, in Florida and Auburn. But you could still argue that the at bats, and you just haven't looked like yourself offensively in 2 weeks. And now Partita is out, and so the lineup's been shaken up. So the team just feels a little bit shaken up right now. A&M is dropped. So this is also something we could talk about. A&M dropped 3 spots after beating Prairie View in the midweek. So A&M's RPI is down to 11, and Ole Miss is at 13. So A&M looking for a bounce back. We talked about it. If the Aggies are able to win, go 3-3, you would feel okay. But if they go 4-2 in these next 2 series, you feel really good about being a national seed, and that starts with beating Ole Miss on the road this weekend. So that's kind of where my impression of A&M is.
Yeah, and I wanted to touch on the people that were saying that we shouldn't play against Prairie View A&M. After losing the series, I feel like it's always great to have that midweek to respond after whether you lost the series or get back into the groove or whatever it was. I feel like that was necessary this Tuesday. And even if it dropped you 3 RPI spots, you're playing 2 teams within the top 13 of the RPI this in these next 2 series. So you're gonna, if you win these series or if you split and go 3-3, you are gonna move up regardless. You're not gonna drop out of the window where they're gonna consider you for a national seed. So I feel like it's those statements are just unwarranted. And now heading into Ole Miss, like we said, their RPI is at 13, and they did not have a midweek after this heartbreaker on Sunday in the rubber match. And it gives a great opportunity for Ole Miss to move up in the standings with Auburn playing Mississippi State and Arkansas playing. Who does Arkansas play again? I forget who they play.
Um,
Um, but
Oklahoma.
there are multiple matchups that there are teams that are tied with them for them to move up and possibly get themselves into a double bye situation if they were to win the series this weekend.
Um, let's see. We have quick comment. Yeah, talking about the midweek game was good for Wesley Jordan. Good chance he got his confidence back. Yeah, I agree. I think like I talked about it. Like the lineup is shaken up, and you're gonna see Wesley Jordan and Blake Bender up like one of those guys. And it was good. It was good to see Wesley Jordan not only get on base, but he hit a home run. So that feels
Hmm.
good. Okay, getting into a couple things about A&M before we talk about both starting rotations. So A&M is 9-4 on the road. They've been real. Michael Early, I think, is in general is really really good at getting his team prepared to play on the road. A&M's 12-9 versus quad one opponents. Um, and then Ole Miss they've also been really good at home. They're 24-6 at home. They're 11 and 14 versus quad one opponents. So they've played some better competition, a little bit better competition than you have. But both teams are pretty solid at against good teams. Um, I think I touched on it with A&M and Tag. Do you want to talk about just kind of general thoughts about Ole Miss as a team
Yeah,
before
they're
we get
very
into
good at
pitching?
home.
Yeah.
I mean, that's always when you get into these series, they're always going to be good at home. Plus, that Swayze is a very good environment in this conference. Yes, classes are out, so who knows what the actual environment will be like until we see it Friday night. But it's always hard to go play at Swayze, and they're always good at home. So they're a top-heavy lineup. Kind of like what you saw with Auburn, what we were talking about pre in the preview, um, and they're or at Florida. I mean, sorry, but their lineup is streaky if they're on that weekend. Like they have a lot of pop in the middle towards the bottom of the order. If they're on, it's gonna be a hard weekend to get them out. And then their pitching staff, it's overall it's pretty good, but as of late it's not been great. They're trending down. If you had to have a stock, they're trending down. Um, their Saturday guy is very good. He's like our Sims in my opinion when you look at the staff. Um, he's Cade Townsend, is that his name?
Yes.
Yeah, he's very good. He's your set. When they nowadays they're not. You haven't necessarily seen the Friday night guy until they move Volantis in this conference to Friday, but he's a legit Saturday starter. And Friday and Sunday for them's been a question mark, kind of like for the Aggies. Um, and so it reminds me of us to some for staff wise. Um, but yeah, that's about it.
Okay, so I guess I'm ready to get into the starting rotation for both teams. All right, we'll start with Friday night. Now, there's been a lot of discussion about what Shane Sadeo's role on this team is going to be moving forward. We're going to talk about this like he's starting on Friday night, which we both expect him to. Um, so yeah, for Friday night, A&M Shane Zadeo, he's 0-4 in conference play. These stats are pretty ugly. 0-4 in conference play, 9.74 ERA. He's given up 57 hits, walked 13 guys, struck out 42, and the WHIP is pretty alarming, 2.16, and the batting average against Shane Sadeo is 383. Um, Last week against Auburn was easily his worst start of the year. He went one inning, was pretty solid in the first inning, and then things just exploded in the second inning. He gave up four hits, gave up 6 runs, walked 2 guys, and struck out one overall. Um, so the story for Shane Sadeo, all year has been he's going to get hit around, he's going to give up some runs. It's kind of just been bend, don't break, right? Like you can bend a little bit, just don't explode. And I think last week was kind of the first time we saw him explode, and you lose the game 18-5. So if your starter on Friday night is going to explode like that, you're just not going to win the game. You're just not going to win any conference game that way. So, he's just, I mean, it's like saying the same thing over and over again, but he just has to be better. You have to be better than that. You have to give your team something to work with. And he didn't do that last week. So, certainly hoping for a bounce back, but we know he has it. He's been better at times. He was trending upward, I would argue, before the Auburn game, and then just kind of exploded. So that's Shane Sadeo. Um, if you want to go, you can go into Hunter Elliott if you
Mhm.
want to,
Yeah,
or if
Hunter
you have any
Elliott
thoughts about
leads their
Shane.
team in strikeouts. He's 2-2 in conference play. He has a 6.41 ERA, which is relatively high for your Friday night guy in this conference. He's thrown 39 in the third innings, given up 44 hits with 16 walks, um, which is higher again for a Friday night guy. And he struck out 47. Like I said, he leads the team and his whip is a 153 and batting average against is 282. So once again, this is kind of where if you're the Aggies, can you take advantage of a Friday night game where pitching is somewhat of a question mark? Um, and his Hunter Elliott's best outing was against Kentucky. We know Kentucky's not the most powerful lineup every year. They're a very scrappy bunch. So he went six and a third, gave up four hits, no earned runs, and had six Ks and earned the W. And then this past weekend at Arkansas, he went 3 innings, six earned, with three walks and two Ks, and he got the loss. So he overall on this conference play, he's been trending down. I know also against Georgia, he did not have a very good start. So he is trending down.
Yeah, I agree with what you said. I think he's definitely trending down, and that's kind of just going to be what this game is. Like, you could argue both starting pitchers are looking for a bounce back. If neither of them get that, you're going to see early bullpen action and probably a lot of runs on Friday night. So we'll get into the A&M offense and just offense in general later, but you have to take advantage of this guy who's been hit around a lot in most of his games and who's trending downwards. So it'll be a good game, I think, for the A&M offense to get back on track after kind of struggling in the last two conference series. Getting into Saturday, obviously Aiden Sims is going to be on the bump. He's 5-1 in conference play. His first loss of the season was last week on Saturday against Auburn. He's got a 4.68 ERA in conference play, 42 and a thirds innings pitched, given up 39 hits. He's walked 13 guys, and he has 43 strikeouts. The whip is also really good, 1.23, and the batting average against is 239. He didn't have his best game against Auburn on Saturday, but it was still, I would argue, good enough. He went 5 innings, gave up 3 earned runs, 7 hits, walked one batter, and struck out 4. And he was given the loss in that game, which is his first loss of the year. So Aiden Sims, definitely an opportunity to bounce back. And you don't feel the best about Friday with Shane, and so the pressure kind of continues to feel like it's on Aiden's shoulder to win that Saturday game. So that's Aiden.
And then for Cade Townsend, he's 3-1 in conference play with a 3.51 ERA. He's thrown 33 and a third innings with giving up 27 hits and 9 walks. He does not walk a lot of people. Similar to this Auburn staff that you just saw, you're going to have to beat him. And his with 41 Ks right behind Hunter Elliott, and then he has a 1.08 WHIP and a 214 batting average against. So he's very good. He's like our equivalent of Aiden Sims. Kind of feel like that bounce back after game one. If they were to lose that game, you'd feel very confident in Cade Townsend if you're an Ole Miss fan.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, I mean, you love to have Aiden on that day, having your best guy against their best guy. I feel like that probably favors A&M every time.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, moving to Sunday, Weston Moss is coming off of his best game of the season. Last week against Auburn, he went 6 and a third, gave up 1 run, 1 hit, and it was right at the end. It was right at the end of his day. Didn't walk anybody and struck out 6, and he obviously got the win. He's now 2-1 in conference play. He has a 5.06 ERA, 32 innings pitched, 29 hits, 13 walks, and 29 strikeouts. The whip in conference play is 1.31, and the batting average against is 240. So Weston Moss is coming off of his best game of the year. That's got to feel really good for him. I think he's been trending upwards until this point. And after you'd already lost the series, you cannot get swept at home in the conference. And he gave the Aggies exactly what they needed to win that game. So you hope Weston Moss keeps moving in that direction. And I don't see any reason to expect him not to. So yeah, that's Weston.
And I'm gonna preface this. All of this is obviously we're all live streaming this Wednesday, and media
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
availability will be for tomorrow. So it might be listed like we said TBA for Sunday, but we would all assume that it's Weston Moss. And then on the Ole Miss side, who knows if they take Hunter Elliott out of it? But we just don't know because this is on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Um, and heading into Ole Miss's Sunday starter, which has changed. They have gone to a bullpen day. Taylor Rabe has been the opener them for the last couple of weekends. His best outing was against LSU, where he did go 6 innings, which is kind of a anomaly out of all of his other outings as of late. It's been about 2 or 3 innings in each, where he went 6 innings, 2 hits, 2 earned runs with 5 Ks. And then this past weekend, he went 5 innings with 5 hits, 2 earned runs, and had 7 strikeouts.
So
And on
that's
the
oh
season,
sorry.
oh yeah, on the season, he's 1-3 in conference play with a 5.06 ERA, just like Weston. He's gone 32 innings, allowed 36 hits with 6 walks, so he doesn't walk anyone either, and then has 40 Ks. And his WHIP is 131, and he's given up 279 batting average against. So that is the Ole Miss starters.
Yeah, I think my general impression here is like they've have a good pitching staff. It's just not what you've seen the last 2 weeks, and so this is again a great opportunity. Even against Cade Townsend, this is a great opportunity all 3 days for the A&M offense to kind of get in its groove again. We can talk about Nico Partita. Not sure what we're going to see from him. Early said, I can't remember where he said it. It might have been on TexAgs. He said that Nico did some batting practice before the Tuesday game, and he didn't have any pain. That's just not worth playing him against Prairie View. So, we'll obviously see when the injury report comes out. He'll be listed as questionable. Um, but yeah, whether he plays or not, it'll be a good opportunity for A&M's offense to bounce back.
So
Uh,
he did give a report. It was a post game in his media availability. He did give
yeah,
a report that he did front toss and off a tee, and that it was a muscle injury that he was dealing with, and he said it just needs rest. So like Kaden just said, he will probably be listed as a questionable or game time decision. But if I had to put money on it, he's not playing. But that's just us. And then Chris, he gave an update that it's just whether he can get back to moving laterally with feeling comfortable. So I'm very well under the impression that he will be back in the field this weekend. But if you don't see him in the field this weekend, then for sure next week you'd feel very confident in that.
yeah. All right, cool. We'll move into offense now. We mentioned it a little bit before. The Ole Miss lineup is pretty top heavy. So the leadoff guy and just the guys kind of circling at the top of their lineup are really, really solid. And then after that, it kind of gets streaky. I think there's power throughout the entire lineup, except, maybe the 8 or 9 hole. But you could argue like 7 of their guys that you're going to see can hit a home run. Um, also, though, after those first three in the middle of the lineup, there's a lot of swing and miss. So um, it's been a lot of home run or strikeout basically for those middle guys. Um,
Yeah, with Erdemark's their guy. He's the heart of this team. And with guys like Firmus and Federico, that's like the top three. And then there's like Tristan Bissett is a name that's been around in this conference. He has been historically very good with his bat with power wise. But he's only batting 206, but he has 8 home runs in conference play. So it just feeds into what you just said, that it's a lot of power, but a lot of swing and miss.
Getting into a couple conference stats. So in conference play, in conference standings, Ole Miss is 13th in batting average. They're ninth in slug percentage and on base percentage, but they're sixth in home runs. So that's kind of the story that we've been telling. Like some of their guys, they have a couple of guys that are really, really good at getting on base and that can hit the ball pretty much anywhere in the park, but it's been streaky and it's a lot of like power or strikeout, um, which against this A&M pitching staff that's last in the conference and giving up home runs. I think we've given up like 20 more home runs than the next team or something like that. Like it's pretty bad. That's kind of a matchup to look at, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Getting into some specific numbers, Tag mentioned a couple of them. Will Furnace is the first baseman. He's batting 337. He has 5 home runs, and he leads the team with 20 RBIs. Hayden Federico is the center fielder. He's batting 342 in conference play. Only has 2 home runs, but 14 RBIs. And then Judd Udemark, who Tag talked about, he's batting 316. He has 6 homers and 10 RBIs, and then that's the third baseman. So those are kind of the three guys at the top of the lineup that are really, really solid. And then to mention a couple names in the middle of the lineup where it's kind of home run or strikeout. Austin Foley, the catcher, he's batting 231, but he leads the team in conference play with 8 home runs. But he has a 42.9% strikeout rate. And then Tristan Becerra, the right fielder, is only batting 206, but he also leads the team with 8 home runs. He also has 19 RBIs and a 35% strikeout rate. So kind of on the theme of what we were talking about, um, where top heavy, the top guys are kind of what you want to worry about, and then in the middle of the lineup, it's streaky. They're either off or on, and it's going to be power or strikeout. So that's kind of Ole Miss's offense. I don't know if you want to add anything, or you can get into their bullpen a little bit if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, Walter Hooks is a very solid arm that they got out of the pen with a 2.10 conference ERA. He leads with 5 saves. Very quality arm, like a lot of these closers in this conference. And he strikeout to walk ratio is very good with 46 strikeouts and 9 walks. Um, he's very good with a .82 WHIP. That's very elite. So if they do get in a save situation, you are kind of, oh, it's one of the top closers in this conference. However, with A&M's line, they haven't seen an A&M lineup outside of Georgia, which this staff gave up a lot of runs against Georgia. And
Uh,
then Landon Walters, he has a 1.8 conference ERA, but it's a smaller sample size with 10 innings pitched in conference play. He does have a save, and walks are kind of an issue there as well. There's kind of in this bullpen if they're off, it's going to be a lot of walks. And for a lineup in A&M that's very patient and powerful, that's if they do were to give up a lot of runs, that will be why. It will be walks and then the timely hit that you've seen over and over again.
yeah, I think kind of, and then getting into a couple other guys, Hudson Calhoun, out of their bullpen, um, they've used him quite a lot. He has 21 innings pitched. Conference ERA is 5.4, WHIP is 1.62, and he leads the team in walks given up. So that's kind of on theme with what Tag was talking about. A lot of this bullpen, they have pretty good strikeout numbers, but when they're off, it's a lot of walks, which you absolutely like. This A&M lineup is that's what they love to see. Like they're freaking drooling at the mouth thinking about a pitching staff that walks guys. So that's kind of what it's going to be. I really like the matchup for the A&M lineup, for all the reasons I just listed. And then the one area you feel nervous about is just the pitching. Like you just don't know. Um, I guess we could get into our predictions, our keys to the series. Do you have anything else you want to add, or do you just want to get into
No, we can get
what we think is going to
into I can
happen?
get into my key. I have the Ole Miss hitters versus this A&M staff. Since like we have discussed that there are a lot of swing and miss, and a lot of the A&M staff as of late are swinging have gotten a lot of swing and miss. Like Shane, I know the numbers do not indicate it, but he is a strikeout pitcher. He has a lot of good stuff, and for you're inevitably wanting to get that bounce back start out of Shane. I feel like this is the perfect type of lineup to put him against in that Friday night role. And then, like I said, Moss and Sims also have a lot of good strikeout stuff. So like I just said, that with a lineup that does swing and miss a lot, this A&M pitching staff has a great opportunity to be very successful this weekend.
And then bouncing off of that, I mentioned it a little bit earlier. My key to the series is that A&M is last in the conference in giving up home runs. They've given up a ton of home runs, and Ole Miss kind of has the capability to hit home runs throughout the entire lineup. And so, something that we talked about against Georgia, against Vanderbilt, like against some teams in this conference, is solo shots are not the end of the world. If you give up a solo home run, you're fine. But in a series like this, you can't walk people. You can't do that. With every single guy on Ole Miss's lineup being able to hit a home run, if Shane, like we saw against Auburn, like if one of your pitchers has a day like that where they're off and they're walking guys and they're struggling to throw strikes, you can get down really, really quickly against Ole Miss. So that's my key is just throw strikes. You're going to get hit around. We've seen it every single series. That's what's going to happen. Just don't spiral and walk people. So that's my key. Uh, Tag, what's your prediction for the series?
Um, I've got with the we've talked about all year with this A&M team is when they play a team with suspect pitching, they will beat them. Like this has been the key all year. I'm trying to think of this. Vanderbilt beat Missouri. You
Hmm.
handled them. LSU in that series, they had questionable pitching, not in general, but they did, and you beat them. And then the only outlier would be, I would say, Florida. They had really good pitching, and you still beat them. But you, this A&M team will destroy suspect pitching, and that's what Ole Miss has had, and especially when they're trending downward. So I have A&M winning the series and taking 2 out of 3.
I have the exact same thing. I think we would both agree that based on the trends of A&M's pitching staff, if A&M loses a game this weekend, it's going to be the Friday night game probably. That's not my prediction. I'm just saying I think they're going to take 2 of 3. Yeah, I mean, I like what you said. Like you love the matchup with the A&M lineup, but you're just nervous about the pitching staff. You just don't know what you're going to get on Friday night. You feel pretty good, like on Saturday with Aiden Sims. Like we saw a little bit of the Oklahoma game. Like throw that away. He was playing in a tornado. He was, a little bit closer to his floor, kind of against Auburn, which is still not bad. It was still good enough. So you kind of, my point is like you kind of know what you're going to get out of Aiden Sims. You're going to get something good enough. And then Weston Moss has been trending in a really good direction to where you feel a lot better with him on the mound. So you kind of feel like you know what you're going to get on Saturday and Sunday. So for that reason, against suspect pitching, I don't see how you couldn't take A&M in this series. So I have us taking 2 of 3.
And then I
Um,
just wanted to
yeah,
add, before we hop into around the conference, if A&M were to win Friday against Hunter Elliott, which is their worst starter, you would feel very confident rolling into Saturday and Sunday, knowing that A, their crowd is not going to be at its peak, and you've got your two most reliable and consistent arms coming into Saturday and Sunday. We could be talking about a sweep if they were to win Game 1 Friday. I know that's getting a stretch on the road in this conference, but why not? I mean, they've been trending downwards. Their stars have been trending downwards, and against this lineup that has been very good all year, why not? Why couldn't they? Why couldn't they sweep them? So
yeah, I don't think that's crazy to say. A&M already has 2 road sweeps this year. One at Mizzou, which, yeah, I mean, it's
it's
Mizzou.
Missouri.
But sweeping LSU on the road was kind of the moment for me where I was like, wow, this team is really, really special. Like this team is really good. Even when LSU is trending down, going to the box and winning all 3 games is really impressive. So I agree with Tag. I think if we take the Friday night game, you feel very, very good about winning the series, and you could see a sweep. Okay, we can get around the conference. There's a couple series we want to get to. Starting on Thursday night, tomorrow night, number 6 Auburn, coming off of their series win against us, is going to number 11 Mississippi State, who just lost the series at Texas. Yeah, Tag, who do you like in this one?
Personally, I know this is even after what we just saw out of Auburn. I feel like Mississippi State is due for a bounce back. I know they swept LSU um, 2 weekends ago, but I mean, I like the lineup with the combo of speed and power. I like Jacob Parker a lot now that you've seen Partita and Anthony Pack go down. He could very well win SEC Freshman of the Year. And then they've got a lot a lot on the mound that you like Duke, or Duke is his first name. I know that he's very solid, and then their Friday night lefty is very good too. So the pitching can match up with Auburn if they're on, and if that's the case, I like Mississippi State a lot.
I am going to go the other way, and I'm gonna take Auburn, taking 2 of 3 for a couple reasons. Uh, I just don't love what I saw. I just don't love in general what I've seen from Mississippi State at home all year. They got swept by Tennessee at home, and they were kind of shut down offensively the whole weekend. Got swept by Georgia at home, which we both have Georgia number 1 in the conference, so not too mad about that. But even against LSU, they went down 3-0 in both of those games. They were down by 5 runs at one point in the first 2 games against an LSU team that couldn't hit a baseball with a boat oar, like leading up to that series, it felt like. So I just don't love, for whatever reason, it's weird. I just don't love Mississippi State at home. But I wouldn't be surprised if Mississippi State
Mhm.
took the series. But I'm gonna take Auburn taking 2 of 3 games.
I think it's the
Uh,
premier matchup though in
oh
this
yeah,
weekend.
absolutely.
So we'll be close regardless of. Obviously, I believe our matchup on Friday and Saturday somewhat overlap, but that will be the second screen of what's on.
I agree.
I'm very intrigued on that matchup.
I agree. Moving to the next one we're going to talk about, number 24 Oklahoma is traveling to Baum Walker to play number 17 Arkansas. Oklahoma is coming off of a series loss to Florida at home. Um, I think Florida run rule them in that last game?
They run ruled the rubber match. Yes.
Yes, they did. So Oklahoma's 12-12 in conference play coming off of that. And then Arkansas is coming off of their very emotional walk-off series win against Ole Miss. They're 13-11 in conference play. So, yeah, Tag, who do you like in this one?
I personally, I feel like even though they're ahead of them in conference and just in standings in general, I feel like it's a must win for Arkansas. For Dave Van Horn and this program that's been, I'm just gonna say it, their luck has just not been great
Yeah.
in the history. Just not great. For their best or for their most opportune matchup in a region for the A to host, but for A to win a regional and win a super to make it back to Omaha, this is a must-win series for Arkansas, and I love it that it's at Baum Walker. So for that case, I'm going to take Arkansas with that loaded. They do have a lot of arms, and I like that, or I like Kojal. I like the Aloy brother, even though it's not been a good year. But I like a lot of that team, like Damian Ruiz. I like a lot of these guys that are just very solid. Gackle and the lefties they have, they're very good. And I'm not saying this like Oklahoma's bad. Like Oklahoma's a very serviceable ball club under Skip Johnson. I just like Arkansas much better.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I wouldn't be surprised if you see Arkansas sweep this one this weekend, to be honest with you. I just don't love Oklahoma. I don't know what it is. They're so inconsistent, it feels like, especially on the mound. Um,
That's the biggest problem. It's
which one is it, the Friday night guy or the Saturday
well,
night
they
guy
moved.
that
I know they moved Cameron Johnson from Friday, and now it's LJ Lamerculus or whatever his name is, and he's been very good as of late. But it's the
Cameron
roller
Johnson
coaster.
is the one that's like really struggled to throw strikes at times, right? Yeah,
Yes, but in his last couple outings,
it's been better.
it's been much better. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it's at Baum Walker. Like I think at the beginning of the season and even in early conference play, you were looking at Arkansas and you were like, man, Baum Walker just doesn't feel like what it normally does. But after a walk-off series win, like against Ole Miss, and all of those people get to come back, it's going to be crazy. Um, I think, yeah, I'm going to take Arkansas. I'm going to take Arkansas too. Let's move to Texas and Tennessee. So number 4 Texas, coming off of their series win against Mississippi State, is traveling to Knoxville. This is the first time the two UTs have played in the regular season since Texas joined the SEC. They played in Hoover last season, I think, and
Mhm.
Tennessee won. So Texas 15-8 in conference play, tied with A&M, and Tennessee 11-13, still kind of trying to get into the tournament. So yeah, who do you like in this one?
I'm going chalk. I mean, this feels the most chalk out of all these series, even with some ranked versus unranked opponents. I mean, it's just Volantis versus Coons on Friday night, I believe it is, or
Yes, it is. Yeah,
um, that is going to be the most typical 2-1, 1-0 game that you'll see in this conference. But this is a huge week just for the standings. Like I mean, like we keep talking, it feels like you're on Saturday at the Masters. Like it's moving day. Like I know you're not a big golf person, but Saturday for the big majors or whatever is moving day. And when you're at the last two series, it is moving weeks for these teams. And for a team like Tennessee, you need to take one at least. You cannot get swept, A, at home, but for your tournament chances. Um, but saying that, Texas is going to win the series.
I hate to say it. It hurts, but yeah, I completely agree. I think Tennessee's going to take one, and they're going to take the Saturday game. Um,
Probably.
Ruger hasn't. When was the last time Ruger recorded a conference win?
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, right? I think I said yeah. So it's been a while. He's just been teams are just on him right now. Like
Yeah,
he's
it
getting hit a
started
lot.
with South Carolina, and then they played us, and then everything's just been downhill since.
Yeah, this one's gonna come down to Sunday, but at the end of the day, I like really good pitching on the road is a really good thing in this conference. Um,
And
so
plus, Tennessee's been like we talk about roller coaster of teams. That is
yeah,
Tennessee. That is Tennessee. That's also LSU though. But yes.
Tennessee also hasn't been. Um, they haven't had much to show offensively most of conference play, and
Yeah,
that's
and we
not.
saw them in Dallas, and it's and
We
they
did.
we saw the Virginia Tech game for sure. I know, believe you saw a different one, but they didn't score many runs against that Virginia Tech team, and I didn't think Virginia Tech was that great. But once again, that feeds into the identity of that team. That
Yeah,
they're very good on the mound, like a lot of these teams, but I just think Texas is just better.
yeah. I think you're going to see both teams struggle offensively in the first and third game. But and for that reason, if Texas's opponent is struggling offensively, Texas is going to win the game. That's just how it is. So I'll take Tennessee to win one on Saturday, but Texas is going to win that series.
But at the
Uh,
same
n-
time, that could very possibly be a sweep. So
oh yeah, I guess. I don't know about Ruger. That I know that's probably their biggest question right now too.
mhm.
Um, could be a bounce back for him against, like we talked about, struggling Tennessee lineup. Yeah, all right. We both take Texas. Moving to the one in Athens, LSU has finally won a conference series. They swept South Carolina at home. They're now 9-15 in conference play, and as a reward, they get to go to Athens and play the best team in the conference, number 5 Georgia, who is 18-6 in conference play. Uh, explain to me why Georgia is going to win the series tag.
Just by showing up to the field.
Yeah,
No, in all seriousness, the home run capability at Foley is just it's just too much for this LSU staff. That when they lose, they give up the home run ball. So for that case alone, I'm gonna take. I'm probably not even gonna look at the scores of the series because I know what the outcome's gonna be. Just this LSU team is just not what they are historically, which is weird to see out of a Jay Johnson club.
nobody's really been watching LSU. I think they're on a five. They're on like a 6 game win streak now. They've been playing a lot of freshmen who have been playing better. They've Jay Johnson has kind of totally ditched the transfers that they brought in, especially in the lineup. They're playing freshmen who are playing a lot better. You saw the way that they played at Mississippi State. Georgia is still going to win this series. I think LSU is going to be more competitive. Like it's not going to be like the Missouri series. I think LSU is going to be competitive. LSU still leads the nation in strikeouts. They have a lot of swing and miss with their pitching staff, so I think LSU is going to be competitive. Maybe they take a game, maybe, but yeah, I feel pretty good about Georgia taking the series.
If
Um,
LSU were to take a game, it would be Sunday.
okay,
I know their two guys are Friday and Saturday, but they Georgia finally finding a Sunday starter with Caden Aoki, it just makes you like if he has a bad start, then you're going right back into what they've struggled with all year, and that's been the vulnerability of losing series or losing games in general. It's been on Sunday due to the question marks pitching wise.
yeah, and then obviously for Jay Johnson, like this is your do or die series right here. It's not an easy ask. It's not fair to ask LSU, hey, just go beat Georgia, and you know you might be back on track to making the tournament. But regardless of whether it's fair or not, this is kind of their do or die. If you win this series, you still have a chance. If you don't, you're probably not making the tournament. And then we can go quickly through the last three. Um, Alabama is traveling to South Carolina. Alabama's 13-11 in conference play. Probably they're still going to make the tournament, and especially since they get to play South Carolina. South Carolina 7-17 in conference play. I assume we're both taking Alabama.
Duh. No, no, I'm just kidding. With I believe well, I know Bama just swept Vanderbilt, so they're coming in hot. Plus, they're playing South Carolina, so I'm gonna just go out on the limb and go. The road team will sweep South Carolina.
All right, watch this. South Carolina is going to take 2 of 3, and they're going to do it because I don't know, I don't know, vibes.
You just
Yeah,
want to be different. That's
I
why.
want to be different. I'm going to take South Carolina to be different. Yeah, the power of the Cox. Okay, two more. Kentucky is traveling to Florida. Kentucky just beat Tennessee. They took
Hmm.
2 games. Tennessee salvaged the rubber match. beat them pretty badly in both of the games. Uh,
Mhm.
Kind of the first time we've seen Tennessee's pitching staff get clobbered, which is so weird. That's so Kentucky. Like they don't have the talent that the rest of the league has, but Nick Mingione just finds a way to win these games when he needs to. And they kind of drug Tennessee around in the first two games. So now they get to travel to Florida, who we talked about just took down Oklahoma in Norman. So who do you like in this one?
This is big for Kentucky to make just to make the tournament. I don't know who they play next week, but if they win this week, they are almost like we're getting to the conversation where if they win the next week, they're a lock for the tournament. They're on the bubble, like Vanderbilt, like Tennessee. But if they win this weekend at Gainesville, they will put themselves into they are a lock for the tournament. But you're facing the best pitching staff or well, the two most projectable in the big leagues for pitching staff, and for that case alone, I trust Aiden King, I trust Liam Peterson, I trust McNeely in the back end. I just think it's too much. Plus, with the way Sears swinging the bat and the
Hmm.
that McDonald kid that's
Yeah.
been used out of the bullpen and in the lineup now. I just trust Florida so much more. However, it would not surprise me if Mignon and Kentucky Wildcats win the series.
Here's what I'm gonna do. Uh, Florida is really bad at home, and we talked about this last year. Like they have the worst, besides Missouri and like South Carolina. Florida's win percentage at home, I think, is under 65% now, which is crazy. We talked about that with Florida making the tournament. Like, would they rather be a dangerous two seed on the road, or would you rather play at home? Florida has not played well at home. I'm gonna trust solely. I'm gonna trust those guys to get it done. Still not like comfortably um, in the hosting conversation. Obviously, they're still gonna want to host. I'm not saying they're gonna throw games to get to play on the road in the tournament. So yeah, I agree with you. I'm gonna take Florida. And then finally, the premier matchup of the weekend. Uh, Vanderbilt is traveling to Missouri. Vanderbilt just got swept by Alabama, as we talked about. They're 10-14 in conference play, and Missouri better than they were last year, but still 4-20 in conference play. So yeah, who's going to win this one?
Vanderbilt needs a sweep. After getting swept by Alabama in a game that they needed to boost their RPI, even just taking one, knowing that they have Missouri and I believe South Carolina to close it, they needed, they absolutely needed to win it. Bama did not get it, so that makes you need to win the next six. If it is South Carolina at the end, you have to sweep these next two weekend series to even like feel like you're safe to make the tournament. Like, or you still would be on the bubble if you do sweep or sweep out. But yeah, obviously it's Missouri does have a great chance to win Friday with McDevitt on the mound, though. I'm saying that, but yes,
Yeah,
Vanderbilt will win the series.
that's what I was gonna. I wouldn't be. That's what I was gonna say. Like I would not be surprised if Missouri takes the Friday night game. But I like this is Tim Corbin at the end of the season. He knows what he needs to do to make the tournament. They haven't missed the tournament. I don't. They have the longest streak of making the tournament in the country. They're gonna get this done, and they're gonna take two of three. So yeah, Tag and I both take Vanderbilt. That's kind of everything. Do you have anything else you want to add before we get out of here?
Nope, but it will be a great weekend of baseball nonetheless. So,
Yeah. Thank you guys for sticking with us. This is episode 4 now. We're kind of improving production quality. We're getting there. Yeah, we're gonna keep making videos, and we will see you guys on Friday night after game one to break down what happened.